Hi everyone, it's Warren here from PSVR with another Let's Play. And today we're going to check out Superhot VR on the PSVR. Let me start by saying this. Superhot is super hot. So let's check out some gameplay.
I've actually tried to live stream this game on the launch date, except I ran into a bit of difficulties with my connections being a bit slow. So thank you for those who tried to actually come to my live stream, and sorry for the connection issues. I'll try it again in the future, and hopefully you can join me again. So let's talk about Superhot. I believe that Superhot is a killer app for VR in general. The concept was great as a game in front of a screen, but it really shined in VR. And here's why. VR put you right in the scene, and you literally feel the slow-mo bullets flying right in front of your face. The fact that the game is in slow motion means that you don't feel sick playing this in VR. And the VR really just gives this already great game so much more immersion than it did on just a 2D plane. It doesn't even matter that all the characters are just red and everything in the background is just white. You literally feel like a badass in this killer action movie where it's played out in slow motion, and yet you can move in real time to avoid the bullets and to counterattack. Talking about it just doesn't do it justice. This is definitely a VR experience you have to try out. Okay, so here are my 3 pros to Superhot VR on the PSVR. As I said earlier, this game is made for VR. This wasn't my most anticipated game on the PSVR for the coming months, but I haven't had so much fun in a long time. It got me bending backwards, dodging VR bullets, and ducking and hiding behind a parked car just to stay alive. Don't let the simplicity of the graphics fool you. When you get stuck hiding behind something and you stick your head out around the corner just to check out what's happening, and the bullet fly right in your face, it's intense. I think the simple graphics allow you to see clearly, to plan out your next movement and attack. In fact, it almost feels like you're looking through thermal goggles and seeing the heat map of the surroundings. Everything in the game feels great, and when you pull off an attack exactly the way you planned it, the satisfaction is amazing. In fact, even when things goes wrong, but somehow you manage to get away with it by randomly swinging your arms around and throwing a Hail Mary pass with your gun that's running out of bullets, it's just so much fun. The second pro I got is that it's got great controls. Superhot uses 2 move controllers, one for each hand in the game, and this is definitely the obvious way of playing this game. Okay, we all know that a PSVR has its limitation with its tracking, but the control in Superhot is very good. Everything is very responsive and the tracking is much better than expected. Every now and then it did lose my arms, but that's probably more me moving out of the camera area, trying to really reach out to grab those guns that are flying in the air and are slightly out of reach. The move controllers really does a great job of adding immersion to the game. The trigger button is to close your fist to punch or to grab a weapon, and the same button is used to shoot if you have a gun. The gun feels accurate, and it does take a little time to get used to how far to aim ahead in slow-mo, but the direction and relative speed between movements feels right. I'm so glad that the controls are implemented well, because that will be the do or die for this game, and luckily it is actually done well. My final pro for this game is that it's definitely a showcase for VR and a showcase for PSVR. Superhot is easy to get into. Once the player understands the concept that time will only move when you move, the rest of the gameplay is extremely intuitive. Everyone who I've put in front of the game, whether young or old, new to VR or have been playing VR from day one, have absolutely loved it. I'm sure most of you will have seen the movie The Matrix. This is what I imagined bullet time would be like. I haven't had so much fun moving around pretending to be an invincible Hollywood star, dodging bullets while shooting around the corner, and at the same time throwing a bottle in another direction to disarm the baddie so that I can grab the gun in mid-air to shoot the guy that was behind him. And yes, it is that good. The other great thing about this game is that in some way it's almost like a puzzle game, and there's so many ways to finish each puzzle or level. So sometimes it's fun to even go back and replay some of the levels and try out different ways to complete it. Let's talk about some of the cons of this game. The first one I've got is graphics. The first thing that anyone who have played the standard version of Superhot before, they'll notice that the graphics are clearly not as sharp as the standard edition. The graphics in Superhot is clean and simple with a lot of white and a lot of flat colors, and in some ways this simplistic style makes the limitation of the PSVR resolution more apparent. You can't hide the jaggies of the straight line when it is a simple black or red on white. Even though the graphics are clearly inferior, the good news is that after the first level, I did not notice it again. I didn't care about graphics, and once the action starts pumping through, you'll be having so much fun being a badass and forget about the graphics completely. As much as I think the game has great controls, there are definitely glitches with the tracking sometimes. The controls is probably most frustrating when you're throwing objects. At least with the gun you can see the direction of the nozzle, so they'll give you a hint at your aiming. But with throwing, it's all up to how good the tracking is. A lot of my throws are misdirected, and also the strength and distance of the throw itself is a bit hit and miss. But this may be more due to my skills, so I'll definitely give it a few more goes, and I'll be playing this a lot more to see if I can get some more consistency from it. And finally, my last con. There's no motion or movement. In the non-VR version of Superhot, your own movement plays a large part of solving each level, whereas in the VR game you're pretty much standing in the same spot and can only move within the range of the camera. I totally understand why the developer have made it this way, and the last thing I want is to have to use the controller to move around. But while playing the game, sometimes there are weapons that are dropped just slightly out of range, and it's just a little bit frustrating that you can't get to them. I think the developers have made the right decision of not allowing your character full free movement in this version of the game, as it does help to make it more accessible to everyone, and also help with the VR, FPS nauseating feeling. But I'm hoping in future version, Superhot 2 hopefully, when VR will give us better ways of moving around physical space, full user movement will be enabled in the new game. This will take this VR game to the next level, as long as there's a good way of implementing it. Let me go back to what I said at the beginning of this ProCon3 review. Superhot is a killer app for VR. It is that good. Sure, there are things that can be improved on. Maybe less about the limitation of the PSVR, but maybe just VR in general, about movement and controlling movement easily. But even without that, this game feels great, and the VR immersion is just off the chart. Superhot will now be my go-to game to show everyone what the PSVR is and what virtual reality is all about. It may not have the best graphics on the PSVR, or doesn't sound as exciting as some other VR games promises to be, but the pure immersion and joy of playing this game outweighed all the other factors. So if you haven't guessed by now, I'm highly recommending this game, so if you've got a PSVR, definitely get this game. I would even recommend this to be the first game that anyone with a PSVR buying. Thank you for watching my review. I'm going to go back and get another Superhot session in, and if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to my channel for more VR, PSVR and 360 photography and videography videos. It's Warren here from Overexposed 360, and I'll catch you next time.